If you want to improve your art in 7 days, here are my top tips.
My number one step by far would be to promote yourself and put yourself out there consistently on social media. I would kind of class myself as a bit of a social media artist, and by that I mean post daily on the most significant platforms of the day, which at the moment for me would be Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn and YouTube. Now, I know that it can be absolutely overwhelming to be posting on all of those platforms, but if you can start by posting on, say, Instagram, then you get used to that and you start putting out content, then maybe add in LinkedIn, because you can just copy that content and just kind of slightly tailor it to a more business angled kind of focus. Then you can put out the same piece of content but reach a much bigger audience, because the audience on LinkedIn is a lot more organic. But the idea being is that attention for me is the game, and so when you put yourself out to more people, you will be getting more potential customers with eyeballs on your work. And so ultimately, my belief is that you build the biggest possible customer base, quote, audience, and therein lies potential customers and painting sales, basically. So now we've got the image onto the canvas, we can literally start painting. So whether it's going to be oil paint or acrylic, that's completely up to you. But what we want to do is work around each shade. And so I personally would advise that you use or start with the darkest colours. I usually start with black, because then you're able to gauge from there what the other shades should be. I find that if you do it the other way around, it makes it very difficult to tell whether that shade is too dark or too light, because you have no base reference to work from. So as I build out a painting, you'll see that I'll usually go from like the eyes or like some shadow all the way through to the like kind of highlights on the cheek or the nose. Then as I'm working through those different shades, I tend to use a lot of sandal in my oil paint to kind of thin it down, which I'll link in the description just below. By thinning down the paint using sandal, it just makes for a much easier blend, because when you're using oil paints, it can be quite thick and clunky, but by thinning it down, it just means you can get a kind of nice smooth transition into the different shades. The tricky bit is now obviously going through your whole painting, working in that process. And so I'll constantly be referencing the iPad that I have next to me to make sure that my colors and my shades are on point, and I'll be zooming in and out to make sure that kind of from a distance it also looks good, but also kind of close up it's true to what the image should actually be. And you definitely want to take your time with it at this point, because the worst thing you can do is rush it, ruin a painting, and you'll be annoyed at yourself. With this, you want to make sure that the paint is consistent, so when you're mixing it in, you'll still get quite a lot of white that comes through in the paint. Okay. We've now got a lighter grey, so we're going to work around the kind of lighter bits that I just put in. So I won't put too much of this, but we're just going to work in so that it makes it feel a bit more gradient rather than just kind of like black, white, black. Do you know what I mean? Like, so we'll just work around some of the sections in this new colour, in this new grey. So the amount of black and white that you use in each painting will change. So this painting is a lot darker than a lot of paintings that I do. So there's a lot of darker shades and stuff in here, so I'm not using too much white, but what I'm going to be doing is working in quite a few darker colours, whereas if it was the other way around, like something like my Adele painting, I'll add in quite a lot of lighter greys and only just a little bit of black, just to kind of add a little bit of accent. It's important to thin down the paint because we want it to be able to be flipped fairly easily, otherwise you'll just get big clumps of paint that will come off the brush, and it won't kind of be as fine and as kind of the delicate look or the more delicate look that I'm trying to go for. Importantly, when you're doing the flicks, I always do the white and the highlights first when I'm flicking the paint on, so that you don't put too much of the highlights on. If you you only want like minimal black flicks on there because otherwise it will completely ruin the painting. And trust me, I know about that. But if you do it white first and then build up with some grey flicks and then finally with some black flicks, similar to like this, it kind of brings the whole painting together, and so you haven't got so many like different posterized gradients in the painting. If you have still got some kind of left from not being able to fully blend everything in.
They are my top tips to take your artwork to the next level. And so as always guys, please do let me know in the comments if I have missed something or if there's something else that you want to find out, because I do come back to every single comment. But more importantly, it's still a new channel, so please do like and subscribe to see more of this type of content.